Hello, everybody. What's up?
Hello.
We were all leaning in like two old people. Like, what? Did you click the thing with the? Hold on. Why is it just my eyeball?
It's a
Why?
very snazzy thing you got going on here.
There's a little preview video
I
or
think it's
whatever you
great.
call it. Hey, everybody. Thanks for being here. Welcome to Common Censored. I'm joined by Eleanor Goldfield.
And we're coming to you from the Eleanor is Not Showering Studios. That's why
You
I
know
look
what?
like this.
I don't want to talk about the level of stink. You know, they might see the blurry lines coming off you as the problem.
You probably will.
They might see that.
Will.
Okay, so in a few minutes, we are going to get to the Canadian Parliament giving a standing ovation for a Nazi. We're going to get to that story, and I know it's a few days old, but I'm actually glad that we waited a few days because there's been many updates that just keep getting funnier and more amazing. So we get to go through all of it now that we've seen the fallout to some degree and bring you all the little nuts and bolts and things. And also, when it happened like 3 days ago, Eleanor was like, "Don't you fucking cover that story without me, okay? It's my story.
It's too delicious. I can't.
Mine."
You get so many good stories throughout the week that I have to just say bye to. I was not going to let this one go.
Can't let this one go. So we're getting to that in a minute, but we're going to start off with the latest attack piece. I guess it's mainstream media. You can argue about whether Mother Jones is mainstream media. It's a well-known magazine outlet.
Trying to be now.
However, the guy who wrote it is an MSNBC hack. He is a regular on MSNBC, and it's an attack against me. But the main point of it, the main goal of the article, is to attack Cornel West and make him scared to appear near people like me. That's what the article is. All right. So for those who are listening to the podcast, so this is Mother Jones. For those who are listening to the podcast, the image at the top
is amazing, by the way. If you're listening to the podcast and not watching, you need to go and find this image. Don't go read the article because it's trash. But Lee tweeted it. I put it up on my Instagram.
Well, it's the banner on my Twitter now.
It's a beautiful fucking picture of Dr. Cornel West, Lee Camp, and I'm totally blanking on her name right now.
Claudia De La
Cruz. And they look badass. Like, it is such a great image. So joke's on you, Mother Jones.
But in the bizarro neoliberal world, this is a scary photo because it shows Cornel West. It's exactly they throw a filter on there to make things seem nefarious. I've been filterized in a myriad of ways. So there's this one where I'm black and white. There's the Daily Beast article that said, Russia propaganda cabal or whatever. And it was like me and Max Blumenthal and a bunch of others. And we were in a red filter. They had made us glowing red, like red is evil. And then I'd been put under a different filter when the Washington Post did a piece on me where they accentuated the contrast and the shadows on my face.
You look like Dracula.
No, I look like Rasputin is what I fucking look like, which was their goal, I think.
I might be related to him.
I've had a lot of different, I always thought you looked a little like Rasputin, but I've had a lot of different filters thrown on me to try and make me look more nefarious. Yeah.
Also, someone's commenting that it looks like you're in a band. It kind of does. It looks like an album cover, like a real, kind of like
it's
a prog.
It's a hell of a band. Yeah. Cornel West, Claudia De La Cruz, and me. Let's face it, as the white guy, I would be the one without the rhythm. But
yes, I don't recommend you putting Lee in your band, actually.
So David Corn is this complete hack. He's MSNBC contributor. He's on all the time. But more than anything, he's made his name for 6 straight years, maybe more. I don't keep track, but 6 straight years of just Russiagate. Just Russiagate. He put out a fucking book about Russiagate called Russian Roulette, about how Russia rigged our elections.
God, I wish he would play Russian roulette.
This guy has been glowingly wrong for years. Every tentpole of Russiagate has collapsed, and this guy has a book that he still sells with all of that false shit in it. And yet you can keep your job. Isn't that great? You can keep your job when you do that, when you're just completely wrong for 6 straight years.
Well, I mean, if you're wrong, but wrong for the empire, on the side of empire, then sure.
Yeah, if you're pumping out misinformation.
Still around.
Would you like to address how this reflects on Mother Jones the person?
Oh my God. Okay, so folks might know that I did a documentary about West Virginia, And in that, once again, with the
Okay, first of all, every time you do that, the podcast people have no idea what you're talking about. Secondly, I'm
podcast
sorry.
folks, I'm angry
the
at Lee for
toggles
always putting
are
the article over
confused
my face. I
for
know I haven't showered today
a
because I
half
wanted to
second.
get a workout in.
All right, because
I
of the
haven't showered.
smell, we're doing this.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'm trying to back you up here.
Go ahead.
So it's absolutely disgusting that this bullshit rag calls itself Mother Jones, because so Mother Jones was a total badass Irish organizer that I wouldn't say pushed, but she inspired mine workers in West Virginia and Kentucky to go on strike, and she was like a mother, hence the name.
She was an organizer and worked with all types: socialists, communists, anarchists.
Well, there's a great, in her autobiography, which I read years ago, but I just looked up snippets of it recently. She's talking about the Haymarket Affair, and if you don't know what that is, Google it. We don't have time to get into it right now, but she's talking about how she doesn't call herself an anarchist, but she absolutely aligns with their their push for basic workers' rights and things like that. And she doesn't mention the words communist and socialist, but there were a shit ton that considered themselves such, that were also organizing around that same time. And she was one of them. She was a radical leftist at this time who was pushing against the powers that be, who was fucking spitting at the titans of capital, and now her name is being used to try and smear and tarnish other radical leftists who are continuing her legacy of giving the fucking finger to the powers that be. It's absolutely disgusting.
I knew you'd do that more justice than I would. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. No, it is. It's fucking disgusting. And it's so sad. It's like to use her name and be like, fucking anyone who promotes anti-war or peace in any way is a Russian propagandist, is like the opposite of what she would stand for. So I just want to read a few quotes from this real quick, just to talk about the propaganda that's here. It's designed really, yes, it insults me and some others, but it's designed really to make Cornel West ashamed to be running for president and ashamed to be on a platform with people like me, like Claudia de la Cruz, like Eugene Breyer, Medea Benjamin. They're talking mainly about an event that's coming up October 3rd, and hopefully this article makes you more likely to want to go to it.
Seriously. That's like saying, don't go to this party, kids. There'll be sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It'll be awful. Don't go.
There's sex and drugs there. Anyway, I'll read a couple quotes. As he campaigns for president, West is moving beyond the Democratic Socialists of America, DSA, which I've talked before. DSA, I'm not saying it doesn't have some good people in it who don't quite see the forest for the trees, but DSA at the end of the day always funnels people into the Democratic Party. It acts like it's farther left than your average Democrat, and then they go, hey, go vote for Biden, go vote for Democrats. So it's just a Democrat funnel at the end of the day. That doesn't mean they don't say some good things here and there, but so he says he's gone beyond the DSA, forging bonds with far left activists who call for the revolutionary overthrow of capitalism. Who
don't threaten me with a good time.
And who support the Chinese and North Korean regimes. What? By the way, any government that isn't the U.S. is a regime.
Also, I haven't even heard you say the words North Korea in years.
Know,
you just don't know. We don't fucking talk about them.
The extent of my North Korean coverage is like when the New York Times says Kim Jong-un has had his girlfriend assassinated by alligators, and then a week later they do an article about how she's spotted alive. And they leave up the article saying she was eaten by alligators.
Was the alligator with her at the time when she was spotted? Then?
Yeah, they were holding hands, which I think she was having an affair with an alligator is what happened.
That's rough.
And then he continues, who are associated with communist organizations and Russian state propaganda operations.
What's the communist organization?
He says that the co-founder of PSL once said we are communists or something like that. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. The point is,
I'm just curious.
This event is a fucking anti-war event. it's Code Pink, which is a long-standing anti-war organization. It's Cornel West. It's me talking about how this war is fucking insane, this proxy war we've got going. And you have shills propagandists like David Korn, who spend their day trying to just tarnish and destroy anyone who dare be anti-war, who dare stand up against the largest war machine that this world has ever seen, that has killed 6 million people in just the war on terror. That's not even counting Ukraine and other places. Anyway, so here's another quote. Who has brought West into this circle is his what has brought West into this circle is his opposition to U.S. military assistance for Ukraine. Yeah, that's what it is. Not maybe the fact that he also believes in a lot of the things we believe in, such as getting medical care to everyone. But
even if it were,
okay. What's wrong with that? Yeah.
What? Also, you knew him.
Also,
you knew him before he was running for president, so it's like you were already a part of his circle, and he was part of yours.
And also U.S. military assistance. He's a
I know.
all the euphemisms. In July, he posted a statement on social media blaming NATO and the United States for having, quote, provoked Russia into a criminal invasion and occupation of Ukraine.
The U.S. admitted that.
No, NATO admitted it. Yeah.
NATO, which is basically, let's be honest, a fucking imperial arm for the U.S.
Yeah, the head of NATO.
Fucking NATO.
The head of NATO. He didn't use the word.
Stoltenberg said so.
Yeah, he didn't use the word provoked, but he said Russia did this because of NATO expansion. They were trying to stop NATO expansion. He called the Russia launched conflict a proxy war between American empire and the Russian Federation.
That's what the U.S. has said. They called it proxy war.
Leon Panetta, former head of the CIA, said on television, this is not behind closed doors. He said, this is a proxy war. I don't care what anyone calls it.
This guy's reporting is remarkable.
He slammed the Democratic Party as a party of war and Wall Street targeting Russia and China. Now that's false, right?
Yeah, no, that's completely wrong. That doesn't sound like Democrats I know.
So West is currently scheduled to headline at Washington D.C. Forum October 3rd, and I hope all y'all will be there. All y'all, not just part of y'all, all y'all. Part of a global mobilization of self-described peace groups.
I love that, self-described.
Self-described peace groups.
So, just curious there, Corn, what would you call a peace group that, like, not a self-described? Would you call the Democrats a peace group? Would you call NATO a peace group? You fucking idiot. This is self-described. Yeah, you know why they call themselves that? Because they fight for that. Because they push for it in the streets legislatively. I mean, there is not like one fucking hearing about war that Code Pink is not at and rightfully disrupting and pointing out that the U.S. is a war machine. I mean,
because he wants to delegitimize us as peace activists. So you say self-described, yeah. I want to thank I don't know how to pronounce this, Mech Quanic on Rumble for the super chat. Really appreciate that.
Mechanic. I think it's a creative way to spell mechanic. I'm gonna guess.
Okay. You're more in tune with the kids these days.
I'm really not.
All right, just like two more quotes here. According to a promotional material from the forum, the other participants will be Claudia de la Cruz, Eugene Puryear, Medea Benjamin, and Lee Camp. Camp, a comedian. And by the way, for those who don't know, Claudia de la Cruz, also a presidential candidate. So the top image of this article is two presidential candidates and me. Eugene Puryear, who's been a vice presidential candidate twice, and Medea Benjamin, they're co-hosting this event. Medea Benjamin is the co-founder of Code Pink. Camp, a comedian and far-left podcaster, had a show on RT America until the cable network shuttered. He blamed, and this is supposed to be some sort of accusation of me being crazy or something, he blamed the U.S. government war machine for the channel's demise. Literally it shut down because of sanctions, because of U.S. sanctions.
But Lee, that's not the U.S. war machine. That's the U.S. peace machine. I don't.
Gotcha. Here is super chat. Thanks, Jeppelman. I can't do it. Funny thing is, he says many years ago when Korn wrote for The Nation, he used to ridicule those who accused anti-war types of working for Moscow. Yeah, really lost his head, this Corn guy. Completely lost his mind. All right, last thing. West and his backers might argue, this is how it concludes, the article concludes, might argue that he is merely joining forces with those who also oppose U.S. policies that he deems dangerous. Oh, might they argue that? Might they? Yet when a presidential candidate takes a stage, he or she can expect to be judged by those who share the platform. Man, that sucks for everybody on the GOP debate stage.
Or the Democratic one.
How
many times has Kissinger joined someone on stage as a Democrat? I mean, holy shit.
Yeah.
Or, Michelle Obama standing next to George W. Bush. It's okay.
Actually, I showed this before Biden was president. I showed a clip. It was just a few years ago. This is not long ago. It's like 2 years before Biden became president. A clip of Biden presenting the congressional or the Philadelphia or something Medal of Freedom to George W. Bush. So he's putting a Medal of Freedom on George W. Bush's neck, sharing the stage with him. Now that I actually agree. They should. They both tarnish each other because they're both despicable, disgusting human beings. Anyway, when a presidential candidate takes stage, he's expected to be judged by those who share the platform. The current lineup for this forum places West in the company of radicals. Quick note. Mother Jones, back when this magazine actually meant something, in the 70s, was called, and I think this had to do with actual numbers. It was not just like someone saying it, the most popular radical magazine in the country. So it used to be it was started as a radical magazine, and now it's this neoliberal garbage. Anyway, company of radicals, Chinese apologists, and chums of Russia's propaganda machine. Given his status as a prominent public intellectual and academic, his headlining appearance boosts the standing of his co-speakers and the organizing outfits. Oh, you mean anti-war groups? Choosing to appear with these people is a significant campaign decision.
I agree, it is. And it's a fucking good one. It's so transparent, too. He's scared that this looks good. Because it really does. Also, a side note, can that image be on our Christmas Hanukkah card that we send out? Because I love it. Because it's scared. They're scared. They're scared that bringing people together. And I saw that somebody said something about building bridges on the left. Yes, this is so fucking cool. You've got Cornel West, who's running in the Green Party. Then you've got Claudia de la Cruz running PSL. You have these groups and these entities coming together and be like, we are on the same page. Fuck capitalism and fuck this government.
You've got me, who's a campaign manager for a rock that I found in my yard.
Exactly. So will the Rock be attending?
The Rock might be there.
I think the Rock should attend.
He might be there.
Anyway, so this makes the establishment scared, and it's so fucking transparent that they're scared because of it. I mean, it's like, oh, dude, this is, oh my, it's like, it's like what they tell you about toddler tantrums. It's like, well, it's not really about the tantrum. It's about that there's a need that they're not having met. Corn has a need that's not being met here.
Yeah, the need that's not being met is stopping third parties from attracting attention because the two corporate parties are A, the same shit, and B, fucking catastrophic, awful human beings who don't mind blowing up children.
Amen.
So he wants to diminish any third parties running for president. Okay, so I hope you all saw that as what it was, which is an advertisement for this event, which is October 3rd.
Y'all, please, if you have a moment, tweet out or send a message to Mother Jones and just let them know that they are a disgrace to their namesake. She would find it awful to know that her name is being used for this bullshit. And you're super excited to go to this event on October 3rd that you didn't know was happening until you read their bullshit piece. So thanks.
Thanks, Mother Jones, for promoting it. Anyway, here it is. It starts at 7 p.m. And I believe it's, as far as I can tell, it's free to attend online or in person. I don't see any cost. But you can RSVP at codepink.org. I don't know if there's a limited number of online spots. Obviously, there's a limited number of in-person spots. But just one more time, it's Eugene Puryear, Medea Benjamin, me Camp, Claudia de la Cruz, and Dr. Cornel West, I think will be the keynote. So, yeah, check it out. And to find that, you can go to codepink.org. It should be pretty prevalent on their website. It's also linked on my Twitter as well. But okay, now I think this might become an ongoing segment. Real quick before we get to the Nazi standing ovation, this segment is called "What We're Not Talking About" on the show today, and where we talk about it for like 1 minute. So, what we're not talking about it on the show today is the government shutdown, which is, assuming it's going to happen. I mean, it looks like it very well might. It's all the mainstream media is talking about. It's fucking theatrics, okay? It's theatrics by these two parties that are actually one party. And what ends up being the result of these government shutdowns every time with this imaginary debt ceiling or budget bills, the end result is always gutting these slight little shreds that were given to people, such as one of the things that they can't get passed in order to keep the government open is getting rid of Biden's eliminating some student loan for debt for some people. The Republicans want to get rid of that. Biden, we've already talked about how that's a Band-Aid for student loan debt anyway, and that Biden created the student loan debt crisis. But anyway, and I'll just give real quick 2 ways you know that this is theatrics and bullshit. One is, if they actually were worried about what they say they're worried about, which is government spending, right? That's what the Republicans are so upset about. That's what the Democrats are, like government spending. If they actually cared, then the Democrats would say, okay, we'll give in to your stuff, but we're going to heavily raise the taxes on the rich. Or not, okay, we'll give in to your stuff. We're going to heavily raise the taxes on the rich to pay for the things that you claim you're upset we're paying for. So if the Democrats were serious, they'd have the money. They just say, oh, okay, we'll raise the taxes and we'll get the money from there. But they're not, because this is all theatrics. It's all bullshit. The second way you know it's bullshit is, you know what doesn't shut down even when there's a government shutdown? Everything the military is connected with. All of it. Meaning the government aid going to Ukraine, which is not just bombs, it's also keeping fucking sweater shops open. Like literally they showed a woman buying a sweater and they're like, this shop is funded by US dollars. All that stays open.
So just to bolster that with some numbers,
I think I have this.
So far, the U.S. has delivered 4 rounds of funding totaling $113 billion for Ukraine since the war started. Joe Biden announced a new $325 million aid package for Ukraine during Zelensky's visit last week and promised to help the country, quote, for as long as it takes. An additional $24 billion in security and humanitarian aid that Biden is seeking for Ukraine hangs in the balance amid a mounting Republican divide over further aid to Ukraine. Now, a federal government shutdown would begin on October 1st. If that happens, federal agencies have to stop all non-essential work and will not send paychecks to their workers as long as that shutdown lasts. We know this because it's happened before, right? So what, okay. This is a great quote from this article, by the way. This would create a situation where U.S. federal employees will be waiting on paychecks while U.S. taxpayer money will be paying the salaries of Ukrainians.
Yep. And it does not just go to weapons, which is horrific enough, but it also goes to things like apparently funding all 57,000 first responders in Ukraine. But obviously, first responders are not just, saving lives. First responders do tons of other stuff like, go to someone's house because she felt a little faint or something. And we're paying all those salaries. They're also funding fucking dogs that are connected to also police and things. Fertilizer, grain, but also apparently loans for like businesses in Ukraine to keep them afloat, like literally stores where they're selling sweaters and shit.
Which, riddle me this, folks, if you're a small business owner, did you get loans from the federal government just for being you? No? Okay, well, the Ukrainians did. They got a loan from the U.S. government just for fucking being Ukrainian.
So as if in a government shutdown, all the things that shut down don't matter, right? Like all the people that need food stamps and all the people that need other kinds of federal assistance, all of that shuts down. Or how about the agencies that test whether the water is fucking polluted? Granted, they're ignoring most of it, but still, All of that doesn't matter in a government shutdown. Fucking shut it down. But you know what does matter? Anything the Pentagon's doing. Anything. The Pentagon spends $51,000 on a trash can for the F-35. So the guy who's looking through the trash can brochure, he's getting funded to do that. Bloop, bloop, bloop. He's getting funded to do that, to find the right trash can. That's essential work. That doesn't shut down, but everything else shuts down.
Yeah.
It's theater. It's theater, folks. All right. That's what we're not talking about today.
It's kind of a long explanation of what we're not talking about, but
that's the whole point.
I know.
Okay, so let's get into this amazing moment. And like I said, there's been a lot of updates. So even if you've heard the initial story, just hang in there. Amazing story of Canada's Parliament giving a standing ovation to a 98-year-old Nazi. And literally they said, as they announced him, we have, whatever his name is here, and he's 98 years old, and he fought the Russians in World War II.
But you know who fought the Russians?
Everyone got up. Fucking the Canadian Parliament has Jews in it too, and yay! Zelensky held up his fist. Now, someone please do the math for me. Who fought the Russians in World War II?
So this guy was part of a voluntary. So was not drafted, right?
He wasn't kidnapped by the Nazis.
He volunteered for an outfit, as it were, that was headed by the Nazis, and it was called Waffen-SS, which, I mean, I don't think you could get more Nazi sounding. Maybe if you tacked on Gestapo at the end of that, but that is the most Nazi sounding.
I don't think you can be like, well, we don't know who the Waffen-SS were fighting.
They might be related to food, not bombs. I'm not sure. Excuse me. So, there's a hair in my throat. So
every time you criticize a Nazi,
I get a hair in my throat.
Choke.
So, okay. So this guy was part of this.
Yeah, because we're going to be censored, you should actually say Nazi or something.
Okay. So this guy was part of a volunteer group that fought for the Z Germans. And this particular outfit was also, like most Germans at the time, was later convicted of war crimes. And for their overwhelming zealotry in fighting for Z Germans. So this guy, it's not like some guy that just had a swastika in his yard, right? Like, this guy was very into fighting on that side. And so this is the guy that got a standing ovation. And then there was this awkward thing that happened the day after where people were like, what in the actual fuck was that about? And so
somehow people who saw this were able to do the math as to who was fighting against Russians in World War II. I think it might have, was it the Koreans? No.
Mexicans.
Actually. Mexicans, was it?
No.
Yeah.
So it started with, some Jewish groups, and then it kind of expanded from there. And then we're not going to show the video of Trudeau doing this. And it looks like he's in some kind of fucking stairwell giving this non-apology.
Is that the one you sent me?
No, but I want to show this one because this one's funny. So Trudeau does a non-apology where he basically just says it was embarrassing, which I don't know how I feel about the guy who was wearing blackface as a college student saying that this was embarrassing. Embarrassing doesn't mean you're sorry about it. It means that you're embarrassed.
But also they keep saying that the real problem was that they tricked Zelensky into...
Well, and this is where... So he quickly pivots. He was like, well, this was embarrassing. And I'm like, also not an apology. Then he pivots to but really, we have to make sure that Russian propaganda... And I was like, wait, the what now? Look, man... this Jew is looking for a goddamn apology, and you just pivoted to blaming Russia. And then he did it again. Okay, this video we can show because it's good. It's not good, but it's good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely not good, but good. Here is his second. This is the second attempt at apology, right? Is that what this is?
I don't know what I'd call it, but sure.
Because the first one was in a wheel well or
Stairwell, yeah.
whatever. Stairwell.
I also want to reiterate how deeply sorry Canada is for the situation this put President Zelensky and the Ukrainian delegation in. It is extremely troubling to think that this egregious error is being politicized by Russia and its supporters to provide false propaganda about what Ukraine is fighting for. I also want to reiterate how deeply sorry Canada.
So he just said sorry for the situation that this put Zelensky in.
Sorry,
not sorry that we invited a goddamn Nazi, but
Right.
sorry that it made this current Nazi look bad. What in the fuck? And
This
this
would
it's being
be like-
used by Russia. Of course it's being used because you gave a standing
'Cause you
ovation
did it.
to a Nazi.
You did it. This would be like you have friends over and then a guy walks in a full Klan outfit and you're like, this is my buddy. And he hangs out and the other friends are like, eventually like, this is awkward. And then you only apologize that it was awkward for them. You never apologize for being friends with a Klan member and
Right.
having him over.
Well, you apologize for being embarrassed. Look, I'm apologizing for how it made me feel. What? That's not a fucking apology.
But also, can we just say Zelensky knew what the fuck he was doing?
Of course he
Zelensky
did.
lives in Ukraine, speaks English. He knows when you say, hey, this guy fought in World War II against Russians. He's not an idiot. He knows who fought against the Russians.
Well, and of course, Zelensky is surrounded by people who have all kind by people who love Nazis, right? AKA other Nazis. So I mean, to Zelensky, this is just like, yeah, this guy's great. Fuck the Russians, including World War II.
So another update. I know I showed you that the House Speaker had apologized. Now he's resigned for bringing a Nazi and giving him a standing ovation as if they didn't know what they were doing.
Right.
But yeah, it keeps getting more interesting. I wish I had the clip. I lost it, but
What's her face?
of Freeland, who, let's see here. So Chrystia, is that it? Is that right? Chrystia Freeland, the Deputy Prime Minister of Canada, had family members who were in the same Waffen SS Nazi unit serving under Hitler and the
Just say Adolf. There are
and the
lots of other
Waffen,
Adolfs.
yeah, lots of Adolfs these days, tons of them. As the Waffen SS officer, Nazi veteran Yaroslav Hunka, both from the Ukrainian Waffen SS Nazi Galician division, who she applauded in Canada's parliament and stood in a standing ovation in his honor, according to new information coming to light. So she had family members in the same unit, and her grandfather, great grandfather, or something, was like doing a lot of Nazi propaganda at the time.
And actually, I believe it was Rania Kalik who did a piece about this recently. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name, who she had on her show, was talking about how Canada has a long history of bringing in former
Nazis.
That's just silly. Third Reichians, can we say that?
I think if you put some stank on it, if you would say bringing in the Reich, I don't think the transcript will.
What if I said it in the
that?
same accent that Brad Pitt uses?
Whatever that is.
Nazis.
Whatever that is, he uses.
Nazis.
Whatever that weird accent is, he uses on
Like
Inglourious
almost
Basterds.
Southern, but not quite.
It's I don't know what it is.
No, it's but whatever. God bless him for trying. Anyway, bless his heart. So, which is Southern for go to hell. So Canada has a long history of inviting these folks in, and apparently the person that Rania Kalik was interviewing said that at one point they would actually ask you if you had some kind of like swastika emblems or other identifying features, and that would be basically like a card for you to get into Canada because they wanted people like that. And so
Yeah,
Canada
and-
has a rich history of this shit.
And yeah, it does. And so does the US with Operation Paperclip, where we brought the best, quote unquote, Nazi scientists over here. And they then were involved in many US projects, including the landing on the moon. So, which many believe would not have even been achieved without Nazi scientists. But I love that we didn't really care. We were totally fine with bringing in as many Nazis as possible, because the truth is, like, the U.S. ruling elite were not actually that opposed to it until it threatened Western interests. Like, at first, they were just like, "Oh, you're just a fucking massacring, like, genocidal maniac." Well, as long as you don't threaten Western interests, we don't really care that much.
So it's a quote by Justin Potter, who said, "One way of getting into post-war Canada was by showing your SS tattoo."
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot. And Freeland, the clip I said I don't have right now is Freeland was asked in an interview where she did a press conference apologizing, or her version of apologizing. She was asked, can Canadians hope to find out how many Nazis were brought to Canada and how many are living here now? And she doesn't answer the question. She just goes, she pauses for like way too long, like because she knows the answer is no, we're not going to tell you, and we're not even going to look into it. And it'd be my grandfather is the other thing she wants to. She would have to say, I'm not going to help my grandfather right now. But so she long pause, and then she goes, let me just reiterate that this was a really horrible moment and awkward. Dude, what was that 98-year-old fucking Nazi thing? And he was like, I knew it'd come back around to the days where I'd be getting standing ovations.
Dude.
Just incredible. So yeah, I hope the fallout continues. Let's keep it going. All right, so we have a bunch of other topics coming up, but the rest are going to be at rumble.com/LeeCamp, as well as my locals page. If you're on locals, which is LeeCamp.net, thank you for supporting this show. You are the only reason I can keep this show going. And that is at LeeCamp.net. By the way, you can join up at LeeCamp.net without paying anything. You just won't get every feature. So even if you don't want to pay the $6 a month, even if you don't think what we do is worth $6 a month,
then you're wrong.
You are absolutely right, honestly. But no, you're wrong. But
it's worth far more. Please
go and sign up anyway, because you can sign up. You can become part of the community. You can comment on things and just see posts. You won't see everything. You won't get the exclusive content, but you'll still be a part of the community. So go do that. LeeCamp.net. However, the rest of this show is it free to watch at rumble.com/LeeCamp. Join us over there.
Chat real quick.
Okay. And here it is in the chat. And so Rumble and Locals are the two places this will continue. All right. Go ahead and start introing the next one while I cut off some people.
Well, you're not cut off. We're just moving.
We're just moving.
Okay. So it is next week is known as Banned Books Week, which we have because banned books. So Banned Books Week is something that that's been going on for quite some time, where organizations, including the one that I work with,